Good evening, everybody. Hello, Shubham. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Hi,
Okay.
everyone.
Is the volume good? Do I need to come closer to the mic?
No, it's all good.
This is fine. Wonderful. Welcome, everybody. It's great to see you. When we did our last Insta webinar together, we had a great audience, and I'd announced that we were going to be again live with you here on the 18th. So here we are, and I'm going to tell you again, but I will tell you now that our next one is going to be on 24th. Although the platform may be different, but 24th, 6 p.m., just like this, and we're going to have special focus on MBAs. So those of you who are going to do an MBA soon, come along on the 24th, and those of you who are thinking should also come. Anyway, let me start today. Today we are speaking about destinations. Now, study abroad, as you know, has many attractions. There are many reasons that people do study abroad: to enhance the quality of their education, to do degree programs that are not available so good in India. They do it because they want to enhance their employability. Um, it's also something that makes you a global citizen. It gets you into networks and gives you an edge that you may not have had otherwise. So I won't go into extolling the advantages of a global education. In any case, good quality higher education needs very smart choices to be made. And this is what we are talking about today. We are talking about destinations. Destinations are important even if you're doing colleges in India. But today I'm going to focus a little bit more on destinations outside of India. What is the reason? Because even in the pandemic, when student surveys were done, 90% of those who were planning to go study abroad said they still wanted to do that. So obviously there are lots of you out there who are thinking of an international education. We also know that 90% of Indian students who go abroad go to one of the 5 favorite destinations: UK, USA, Australia, etc., etc. So you know that. We thought we should speak a little bit more about how do you come to that decision. And as a full stack support service that supports higher education students who want to go mid-career, who want to go to college, who want to do career counseling later, Leverage Edu has a whole range of services to help you do that. So your choice of destinations is an extremely important thing. When I say destination, I'm not just saying, are you going to Australia, are you going to the UK? I'm speaking more specifically. I know that whatever counseling service you go to, whatever school counselor or college coach you speak to, they would be telling you about choosing programs, choosing courses, and so on. We will speak about that. But the reason I'm doing this conversation today is a broader reason. It's because I think you need strategy and much broader questions to examine before you make a smart choice. I'm Dr. Mehna Singh. I've been a professor for many years, first in Delhi and then in many other countries. I've taught in Israel, which, as you know, is a startup nation. I've taught in France. I've taught for about 9 years in various colleges and universities in the US. Apart from that, I have visited as an invited speaker. I have visited more than 40 international institutions. So I come with some sense of a comparative lens, and I've mentored and coached many, many students along the way. With me is Shubham, and Shubham has been a long time with Leverage Edu, so he knows the depth of support and the number of students that they support all the time. We're going to, let me tell you a little bit more about the flow of this webinar today. First, I want to speak a little bit about what you should be thinking traditionally, which is the choice of programs and destinations, courses, and where they are on the universities. And Shubham will speak to that. And then a few moments later, I will come back and then I will speak to you about broader global perspectives that you need to think about when you are choosing the destination. And let me give you a little teaser. What is the reason? Because your university does not exist in a vacuum. It exists in a country which has policies. It exists in a society which has certain trends. How welcome are you going to feel? What are your long-term plans? Those are all the reasons that you need to look at geopolitics, at society, at culture. And that is what I'm going to speak to you a little bit later. So here is Shubham, who will speak to you in the first part about how to choose a destination. Over
Hi
to you.
everyone. Hi. So most of you would be planning for your higher education abroad. Would have definitely considered countries like US, Canada, UK, Australia, New Zealand. These are the few countries which definitely pop up in our heads whenever we think of studying abroad. But why is that so? This may be primarily because one, they all are English speaking countries, flexible stay back options, decent job opportunities. Yes, these countries are very good with respect to providing you options, but they are not. This is not an exhaustive list. There are a lot of countries which are very student friendly, providing best of the best education to the students along with career opportunities. Some countries on the lines of France, on the lines of Germany, wherein new tech is coming up, jobs are shifting from these as we move towards a more globalized economy, wherein we have work from remote working options available. The big jobs are not concentrated to the top cities that are there all across the globe. So even let's say you are in a city like Frankfurt or Munich um, or some small town in France. If you have received your education from a top university, you have the required skills, you can get a job anywhere across the globe. So those are the kind of opportunities that lay in front of you. Apart from that, whenever we talk about choosing any particular country, there are multiple factors that come into picture. One is, most importantly, the course that you want to study. What is the subject that you're looking at? Where can I get the best possible uh, education, or basically where I can bridge the skill gap that I have from what I currently have and what I want to be in, let's say, next 2 to 3 or 5 years. So we need to understand, whenever we are choosing any particular course, we need to understand the need that I have, and then map it out with respect to the curriculum that they're offering, the opportunities which particular university is providing. Uh, Second is, whenever we're looking at country, we definitely look at immigration options. We look at, how flexible are part-time work opportunities for me as a student, so that I can, earn some pocket money to, alongside my regular, classes to let's say support either my living expenses or support extra expenses that I'm going to incur. How does the post study work permit options going to look like? Till how many years I can stay back in that country? Let's say US, if you are going for a technology program, it allows you to stay back for 3 years. If you're looking at Canada, if your program is for 2 years, you can stay there for up to a period of 3 years without any additional documentation. If you're looking at UK provides a non-conditional, unconditional 2 years of post-study stay back. So these are definitely some great options, but again, other countries are also providing amazing options for you to consider.
So I'm going to take it from here and amplify some of the things that Shubham has mentioned. But I want to underline something. When you look at a choice for a destination, you look at the prospectus of the university and you speak to the counselors and you say, okay, this is the course I want to do, this is the STEM course, this is the MBA, etc., etc. And you dive into the websites, you check out all of that. I want to tell you that smart choices are not just dependent on those sources. You need to have a conversation with the family and with your counselors about broader issues. And let me talk a little bit about that while Shubham can track some of the questions that might come. So, whatever questions you have, which are general or about what we can do from Leverage Edu, let us know. Meanwhile, let me just go into a little bit of the stuff. Okay, so you need to, some of these things Shubham has alluded to, but I want to amplify them because I think they really are critical. What is the politics of that country at the time that you want to be there? It is important. Why is it important? Because you saw that at certain points during Trump's administration, there were serious issues about what was going to happen to the visa. A lot of students who wanted to come home felt that they would never be able to get that 1 year again if they came home during the pandemic. And I know of cases who did that, and people just stayed back because they felt so desperate about taking that 1 year because they thought it might be scrapped. Okay, so what is the political policy for immigration, even if you don't want to spend the rest of your life abroad. You still want to know, can you stay for 2 years? Can you stay for 3 years? Is H-1B going to be converted to something else? Do you have a chance? Take a look at the political scenario. Take a look at global politics. Don't always think that you need to go to the UK or to the US for science. There are some amazing institutions in EU. Germany is excellent and is a destination that's coming up for science. France is very, very good with technology. Depends on what you want to do. Do you want to branch off into space? What do you want to do? So you need to look at the economy, at the politics of the country where you're going. Why? Because you're not just going there for 3 years or 1 year or 2 years. You're going there to get something out of it. As soon as you're out of college, you don't want to run back. You want to do something with that. You want to establish a network. You want to establish and get some work experience. Even if you don't want to stay there for the next 30 years, it doesn't matter. So even for your medium-term plans, for example, if you were tracking things, there is the change that has happened in the policy in the UK. Because till now, there is a longer, it's called the Keep the Talent policy, September 2019, they changed that. Similarly, Germany, the numbers are rising and there's more happening there. I want some of you to also look at unusual destinations, like, for example, Israel. I know that this is not a moment to speak about Israel, but in general, you should know that it's the institutions in Israel are very, very advanced. They're not so large. You will get a lot of attention. You may think that all the programs are non-English, but they're not. There are many, many programs being done in Switzerland, in Germany, in Israel, in France, which are meant to attract international students. Because those are not the sort of major destination where everybody is running, your chances of getting a scholarship there and funding are also much higher. I want to say, as you look at issues of politics and immigration policy, you should look at issues of culture. For example, around 2009, 2010, there was such a peak of everyone rushing to Australia. And then what happened? One after the other, there were news, media coverage of racist attacks. And then lots of families said, no, we don't want our kids to go there. So there are things that happen that you need to track. You do need to take a look at current affairs and what's happening. You do need to see how welcome are immigrants in those places. You might find that you actually feel very welcome in an institute in Japan. Who knows? So you need to check that. You need to read a little bit more. Go into whatever social media fora, talk to a counselor. Those are important parts of making smart choices. I also want you to consider places like Singapore. Why not? There are things happening in the East in terms of finance, fintech, and maybe your understanding of Eastern markets is going to give you an edge over somebody else who has done yet one more degree from the UK or from the USA. So I want to say that beyond that, there's also the issue of cultural immersion. Now, I've seen a lot of students from South Asia who come to Western countries because I have lived in many different countries. And I want to alert you about the way you look at a destination. Now, it's all very well. You know, the joke is that everybody wants to eat pizza here, and when they go out, they want to eat dokla. So please don't do that. When you go to a country, make use of that cultural immersion. You want to learn, you want to bring back, you want to internalize that culture. How else are you going to become global citizens? So I want you to think of how friendly is that country going to be in terms of its culture. Once you look at a big country like Canada or the US, I want you to think of one other thing that lots of people don't think about. Where is your university located? Please remember, Phoenix in Arizona is not New York City. Quebec in Canada is not like Toronto. So if you're expecting those to be happening cities, they may not be. Have you checked if your campus is an urban campus in the heart of the city, or is it a suburban campus? If it's a suburban campus, as many great universities in the US are, you might be miles away from the city. Are you going to be able to handle that? So when you choose a destination and you want to be comfortable, think about how well you're going to acculturate. So with that, I'm going to take a look at any comments that you might have. Shubham, have you got anything
Yes.
here?
Yes, we have. So, Vinu Patil has asked a question on which are the other European countries that are good for MBA apart from UK. So, just to answer that, if you're looking at an English-speaking country, then Ireland is a very good option with very good stayback possibilities. But apart from that, for business schools, France is a really popular destination currently. And like you'd find some of the even top business schools like INSEAD, ESSEC, HEC, all of them located out of France. So you can have amazing options there. Apart from that, Germany, though there is slight language barrier there, if you are willing to learn the local language, you can definitely go there and have a good career for yourself.
Shubham, I want to add something to that. Excellent. I'm glad you mentioned both ESSEC and INSEAD. I have been a visiting speaker at both. I want to say that INSEAD has a very interesting program. You can do 6 months in Singapore and then you can do Europe. So it actually, and I have had friends, I've had students who have opted for that program so that they could their employability was really much higher because they had an understanding. They worked with professors in Southeast Asia, and then they had professors in France. And even though INSEAD is in a very small place in France, nothing is too far away. It's about an hour and a half or something from Paris. So it's a very, very global school. So absolutely, yes. Do look at other destinations. Yes. Shubham, we have another question here about journalism in the UK. Absolutely, yes. Please remember they have a very, very long history of media that was global. Remember that they were the colonizers who started BBC. And so they have very, very good media schools and some cutting edge stuff, which really pushes the boundaries for media and reporting. Shubham, anything else? You got a question?
Yes. So we have questions on the lines of Vishwant has a question of, I have a decent salary in India with 2 years of work experience. Do you still prefer to do a master's? So Vishwant, I think the answer to that would be it depends on what goals you have. Do you still feel there is a need to upskill yourself to get that promotion that you were seeking slightly early in your career, or do you wish to migrate and do you wish to work on some other kind of work? I do not know what's the kind of work that you're doing here, whether it's slightly related to commerce, is it related to engineering also multiple branches. So depending on where you want to branch out next, what are the kind of things that you want to do, I'm sure we will be able to find a master's program for you.
I'm hearing questions here about LLM, about nursing, and I missed something else. So I want to say if you're looking at nursing, you should look for programs that are attached to universities that also have a university hospital. That's my first tip to you. And there can be many. There can be Emory University, there can be a million others. I can't think from the top of my head, but this is the strategy that I would ask you to look at to make a smart choice. You look at nursing, you look at if there's a medical school with it, and you see if there's a hospital, because that's how you get a comprehensive experience. Now, to the question about LLM, we had another similar question in our last webinar. So LLM seems to be something that everybody who's doing LLB wants to go abroad for. I'm going to repeat what I said earlier because this person wants to know what else do I need apart from your CV. I want to say that you need work experience. Please remember that if you're planning to go for an LLM to the UK or to the US, chances are that you will get a great offer if you have done 2 years of work experience here in a legal firm or litigating or anything else, because your applications are going to need that. And so if you're thinking of just whizzing away, getting your LLB and running off to do an LLM, I think you need to take a breather and do some work here. So let me look at another question here, Shubham. You can also, someone says literature in Canada. So I want to say literature. Okay, so I have a master's and a PhD in not PhD, master's and MPhil in literature, so I should be able to answer that. I want to say it all depends on what you're looking for. What kind of literature do you want to do? Do you want to do Asia? Do you want to do American, British? And I want to warn you that I realize that just doing a master's in literature, which is not interdisciplinary, does not have good employability. Ab kya karoge? Lecturer banoge? No, don't do that. Look for something which is interdisciplinary. Find something that is going to cut across with either journalism or writing or media or history or any one of those things. But look into cross-disciplinary programs. You need that edge. You're investing money, you need the ROI. Okay? All right. So let me look at another question. Shubham, carry on.
Yeah, so we have questions. Masters in data science, which country will be good even for job after masters? So, Rajneesh, to answer this question, currently, if you're looking at tech programs, the first country that will definitely pop into anyone's mind would be the US. US definitely still provides the best employability, best growth opportunities with respect to your study options, as well as good chance of working at multiple organizations. Latest tech is there, innovation is happening there, so you can definitely find good options for yourself. So we have more questions on the lines of how likely are F1 visa holders get into an H1B lottery in the US. So just to answer this question, it's something, again, as you already have mentioned in your question, it's a lottery you really can't predict. But one good thing to know is that earlier the previous government in the US actually placed a cap on X number of students can only get the H1B via the lottery from a particular country. So now that cap is removed, and again, as there are more Indians who are applying for H1B, so as there's no quota on that, you definitely have better chances than, let's say, the last year.
Anyway, the question is, which country is best for international relations? First, I want to say it's not international relation, it's relations, because you're looking at international relations between many different countries. So here's the thing, there's no one thing. You need to have a specialization. You need to figure out whether you're looking at EU and the relations with EU and Asia. You want to look at China, US, you want to look at Russia, US. What are you looking for? And it's time to clarify some of those ideas with some of your professors before you start thinking of that. I also have a question here from somebody who said, I have a BCom from tier 3 college, can I go abroad? The answer is, of course, you can go abroad. You just have to see what is practical and what you want to do there. So if you can create a profile and sell yourself as a student who is worth admitting to a cohort, if your application looks like you've got what it takes to come and learn and join, of course you can. So don't be disheartened if you're from a tier 3 college, but then also don't look for the moon. So settle for something that will help you to grow from where you are to something that you can strive for. Don't try and jump steps. Take the ones that are stable. Make smart choices. There's somebody else who had a question here to say, I may be traveling with a kid. Are there universities who will accept a kid? So I have to say that, as people who coach and counsel, I don't have a list of universities where I can say they will. But I have to say that a lot of graduate degrees and PhD degrees abroad are done by people who are not 23 years old. This is only in India that we enroll for PhD programs so young. So there are many where they understand that you would be an adult with other responsibilities. You will just have to write and see. And I will give you a word of caution. It's really about how much you can handle in terms of very challenging coursework and looking after a kid. So think about that. Your choice of destination needs to be smart also about who you are and what you're taking and what you bring to the table. Shubham, another question?
Yeah, so we have another interesting question from Avnesh, which is, after Masters in Psychology in India, I wish to study and settle abroad. What sort of experience or education would be required for me to work in Canada? So Avnesh, to answer that question, as you already have a Masters in Psychology in India, it only makes sense for you to do something which is a little more specialized. Because if you go for a similar program, then it wouldn't make much sense because you've already studied those subjects. It'll be like, repeating a year or two again. So, look at what's the kind of specialization that we're going to do in psychology, go a little in depth. You can directly also look at PhD options, which can provide you with, good exposure in research areas if you're really keen. Otherwise, another specialized master's program would be good for you.
This one question is from Sachin Kamath, who says, which country would be the best to do masters in healthcare management? And the reason I'm taking this as one last question, I didn't want to miss this one, is because I'm glad that you raised this. Sachin, healthcare management is going to be an important area to pursue. There are going to be jobs, the whole world has been shaken up, and this is where you try and apply your understanding of politics, of society, and science. And you're definitely going to have a lot of opening in this, both in terms of startups and employability. You will have to come for a longer session because offhand, I can't just say this is going to be good or that's going to be good. I think you need to look at a program where they're good with management, but they also have some connection to a medical institution or healthcare, or they're a startup which is looking at both medicine, technology, and management. So that's the kind of program you should be looking for, not just a simple management program, because you want to have that edge. So basically, coming back to where we started to say your choice of destination is to have a smart choice, is to be able to think more broadly and to reimagine that question and not just say, oh, this country and this university because everybody else is running to it. Don't do that. Make your own smart choice, and that depends on what you yourself, what is going to work for you. Financially, logistics, how is your travel going to be? What is the cost of living going to be? How are you going to handle this? All of that is important. And Shubham is now going to give you details of how to reach us. I'm Dr. Mehna Chawla Singh. You can find me and connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm also on Google. I'm also with Leverage. And over to Shubham. And I will say bye-bye, and then Shubham will sign off.
Yeah, so I guess we have received a lot of questions. We won't be able to answer because of short of time. But what you guys can do is DM us, go to leverageedu.com, sign up for a free counseling session. One of our experts will give you a call and help you understand all the aspects in detail. Yeah. So guys, do sign up. We'd be happy to help you out. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dr. Singh.
We'll say bye-bye. Thanks for joining us. So thank you, everybody. Wonderful to see you. Be safe. Keep wearing that mask.